Kathy is ready. We'll begin. Kathy, you ready?
I'm ready as soon as Kristen's ready.
Looks like we're good to go, Commissioner Nash.
All right. At this time, we'll call the Muskegon County Human Services Committee meeting to order with a roll call.
Commissioner Foster.
Here.
Commissioner Hovey-Wright.
Here.
Chairman Hughes.
Here.
Commissioner Laring.
Here.
Commissioner Mahoney.
Here.
Commissioner Skolnick.
Here.
Commissioner Snyder.
Here.
Commissioner Wilkins. Commissioner Wilkins.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Nash.
Here.
9 present.
All right, we have a quorum. Next up is approval of minutes for July 7th, 2020.
So moved.
So moved.
It's been moved by Commissioner Mahoney, supported by Commissioner Hovey-Wright. Any questions, discussion, corrections? Seeing none, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Was that one opposition? No? All right, that is approved. Next, we'll move to, is someone saying something? Okay. Next, we'll move to public comment on the agenda item. If anyone have any comments they would like to make on an agenda item?
I see a
If you're on
couple.
a cell phone, you may.
Tim.
If you're on a cell
Correct.
phone, you can unmute by dialing *6 to raise your hand, or lower your hand, dial *9.
The first one on the list is Pastor Tim Cross.
Pastor Cross,
Sir, how are you today?
not too bad.
All right. I guess I come a little frustrated today. Last year, about a year ago, I believe it was Commissioner Laring started off and came to us and said with the senior millage, he said that they were looking at, for some nonprofit that wanted to do or could do some lawn service around the county under the senior millage. And I understand Commissioner Wilkins, that was something that was really on her heart. She wanted to see that done. And so we set up meetings with Kathy Moore. We liked that idea, and we found out as part of that, to get in there, it started with snow removal. So Commissioner Foster got involved with that, and we began to work with the commission and those to make that happen, because we thought that was a priority of the commission. And so we worked on that about a year ago. We worked through all the stuff. Carla Benton was making phone calls to my office. We were working to make all of that happen. And it seemed like that was a priority to the commission. And then we had a very successful, I believe it was a successful launch. I mean, Kathy Moore wanted us to try to service 50 seniors, and we ended up servicing 78. And we could only do 50 with lawn care with the money that we had, but we did all of that. And then we put in, and we said, all right, we have to write up things. I don't have professional grant writers, but we put that together and for this next year. And then we found out last week what the recommendation was from the senior resources and how that came out. And, for the snow removal, we only got about 20% of what we requested. And I guess my question to the county commission, those here, do these numbers reflect your priorities? Because it seemed like last year, the snow removal and the lawn care was a priority to you, but it doesn't seem like it's reflected in the recommendations that were made from the whatever committee put these, the senior millage, how that was going to be spent. And it was a little frustrating looking at as, Age Well, which is a great organization, got about 92% of what they asked. Senior Resources, that I understand is administrating this and not supposed to be able to write grants, got $340-some thousand, and they got about 71% of what they asked. What we asked for with a successful program, we got about 30% of what we asked for, that I thought was this commission's priority. And so that's a little bit frustrating. And we did everything. We thought we were doing what we were asked to do. We didn't come in and volunteer. I mean, we weren't looking for this. The commission came and asked us to do this. And so we did it. And I heard someone that they thought what we asked for the snow plowing, there was a whole lot of startup costs. This year we asked for $6,000 in startup cost, and all the rest was to service seniors in our community. So maybe I'm a little frustrated, but I'm a big boy. If those things aren't a priority anymore, I guess that's okay. But I guess if these numbers do not reflect the priorities of the commission, then maybe these numbers need to be changed. And maybe the commission needs to say, we want to see these programs funded, and we'll take your recommendations on the rest. But that was a little frustrating, and that's why I'm here today.
Your time is up. Pastor
Can I
Cross.
ask Kathy Moore on the line?
Yes, I am on the line.
Hi, Kathy. I was just wondering, with the process that we use, was there an application sent to Pastor Cross in the church?
This is part of the RFP request for proposals, and I would have to defer that to Senior Resources, who is the grants administrator.
Okay.
This is Amy Floria from Senior Resources.
Yes.
Was your question, did we send them a proposal?
Were they sent the information to be able to submit a proposal?
Yes.
Okay, so what I'm understanding is that the board decided not to move that proposal forward.
Yeah, the Muskegon County Senior Millage Activities Committee makes the recommendations to this committee on awards for the millage dollars, for the senior millage dollars. So they went forward with a recommendation that wasn't the full amount.
Okay.
Commissioner Nash, no, this is still public comment. We normally don't try and answer this. I think if we have problems with the millage request or millage funding, we should probably table those, but let the public go ahead and make their comments.
Well, this is going to come up in discussion. I just wanted to get some clarity to make sure everybody was, because I was looking at the policy and we did not have any, I wanted to make sure we had followed our steps, because we do have many steps.
Yes.
And so this is on the discussion board. Come to that section,
Right,
and
right.
we'll get there.
Right, we'll discuss it there.
Yeah. Any other public comment on the agenda item?
Yes, this is Joan Rapp from Eggleston Township. I would beseech this commission to consider sending this service of administering the grant out for bids. When a company gets almost $250,000, obviously there's not enough money left to fund all the programs that actually reach the senior citizens, which is what these funds are for. There are many senior citizens in the rural communities that get very limited services, and I don't believe that they're being served well by $250,000 or nearly $250,000 coming off the top before any of these viable, such as the snow removal and the leaf removal, which some of our residents had to take advantage of, and now they may not get that service either. We can do better. I would even volunteer to be on a steering committee to find a way to get more of this money to the seniors instead of administration costs. Thank you.
Anyone else with public comment?
Yes, Chairman Nash, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes, who are we speaking with?
This is Steve Warmington, 1524 Lakeshore Drive in Muskegon, and a senior citizen. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak. You know, when this when this ballot proposal came up, I looked at it with interest because it was being proposed as for services for our seniors, but most importantly, our seniors who were in need. And now after 2 years of the program being run, and I asked for and received a copy of what the budget is, and to be perfectly frank with you, I see all sorts of red flags that make me wonder if the taxpayers of Muskegon County are getting the best value for their tax dollars towards helping our seniors in need. And as I study the proposed grants, I really would like to request that you table these recommendations, and as a committee of the whole, review how this program is being administered after 2 years. I'm not questioning Senior Resources Administration, but I'm thinking this is a time that we can pause and take a look and see where can we make improvements if improvements are needed. One of the red flags that I see is, should the administrator of the millage and services also be allowed to apply for grant program or grants for the program funding? Another one, what oversight are you as our elected officials doing, or are you accepting the findings of an outside agency? Number 3 red flag, why is the millage funding job positions with money meant for senior services? My 4th red flag, 59% of the proposed budget is allocated to agencies that provide services to multi-counties. Have we, as a county, you, our elected officials, verified that the infusion of Muskegon County taxpayer money has not, in fact, increased services to these other counties because we are self-funding many of our services? Number 5, why does the advisory board only require 2 people to be over the age of 60? After all, it is a millage for seniors. It seems they would have a more significant role in the advisory board. Do we really need 3 commissioners on the advisory board instead of 1? Yep.
Your 2 minutes is up.
Well, okay, that's it. But most importantly, I'm going to tell you it needs to be tabled because of COVID-19, because 15% of the proposed budget are for activities for seniors that have not been available to them for nearly 5 months, nor does it appear that they will have access to those programs for months to come.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Anyone else?
Yes. My name is Christopher Cross. I am the administrator of the snow removal and leaf program for seniors. And just sort of frustrated like many are about the proposed budgets. We had requested $86,000 for the snow removal portion, with only $6,000 of that being additional startup to be more efficient so we can hit more seniors quicker right after a snowstorm. And to my understanding, one of the reasons why our budget was decreased all the way down to $15,000 was because the note only said startup funds. Just sort of confused why. It was very clear. I double checked the proposal that we sent forth, and it was very clear that $80,000 was for the service, only $6,000 for the startup cost. With that $15,000, it's going to be very difficult to serve many seniors at all. There is many of the seniors that we have served this last year that are disabled, that most snow plow companies will not go much over the extra step, but we'll go and we'll not only plow the driveway, but clear the sidewalks, clear the ramps. We have a lot of seniors that will not be able to get that service anymore. And when speaking with Age Well Services, they mentioned that they can't deliver some of their meals if there's a lot of snow covering the driveway or the sidewalks, and because of dangers. And we will not be able to help them reach those seniors with the need for that food, even with only $15,000. It's just very unrealistic to be able to do hardly anything for the county. And it's really hard to choose between all these seniors that desperately need this program. Every single senior that we serve is low income. We serve a lot in the minority community, more than the average of the population of the African Americans. We serve a higher percentage, as well as many low income, many disabled seniors. And it's going to be very difficult with these funds to pick and choose who we serve when all of them desperately need it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to have a comment?
Commissioner, I don't see any other hands up at this time.
No other hands? All right, since we have no one else, we will move on to items for consideration. First item for consideration is HS 2008-16 to extend the Senior Millage Grants Administration Services contract with Senior Resources of West Michigan through December 31st, 2020.
So moved. Marcia.
Ms. Moore, you want to jump in on this and explain the purpose of this?
Yes, Commissioner, thank you. The current grant expires September 30th. Pre-COVID crisis in Muskegon, we had met, or I had met with the chair and vice chair of the Senior Activities Committee to begin planning for the next request for a proposal or request for qualification phase of the grants administrator. Then COVID-19 hit, and we didn't continue those conversations. So last month, I called the chair of the Senior Activities Committee, and I asked if we could actually postpone all of the grants until we can clarify some of the guidelines. That was, I felt like that was taken a little bit out of context, like I was overstepping my authority or position, but it's really just to allow us more time to step back and clarify, what it is we want to see moving forward, and then fashion the RFP and the contracts accordingly.
Understandable. So this effort to extend this contract is basically just to give you enough time to be able to extend the RFP so that we can look at proposals to administer this grant.
Right, and to give all of us enough time to get sufficient input and just do the best thing, what's right, to do what's right, but get it in writing.
Commissioner Nash, I have a question.
Go right ahead, Commissioner Hughes.
Kathy, I guess this question is kind of for Kathy. In the process of moving forward, if we were to extend this out until the end of the year, in that time, could you figure out if you could assume those responsibilities that Senior Resources is doing now with the money that we pay them to do them?
I don't even need time for that. I could not do that, but I think we could explore all options, but it's going to have to be it can't just be me. And then, full transparency. I am the designated liaison. So this board appoints me to be the liaison for Senior Resources, not with the millage. This is another. So for 14 years, I've been the liaison. Right. I've served as the treasurer of that board, and I am currently the chair. And so I just, I was trying to, when I reached out to Janet, I was trying to just say, we need to have this discussion. We need to work on some of these behind the scenes. And I meant, not with the Senior Resources staff present. I didn't mean, I want to collaborate, or I'm in cahoots to make sure Senior Resources get this grant. I feel like it's just been stretched all out of context.
It kind of has, but I do think we want to look at all options. I know we also have a millage with veterans and we have a veterans department. Maybe we need to have a senior millage department or a senior department. We need to look into something like that.
Right. So the 3 months would just give everybody more opportunity to look at all options.
Great, thank you.
Well, I think this is a good step in one of the directions we needed, because we initially provided the public with assurances that the administrator, the grant services administrator, would not also be a vendor. And we've actually gone against that, what we've promised our community. And that's something that I think that we really have to get in order. Otherwise, we're not telling our public the truth. And this is something I think we seriously have to take a look at. There's a significant portion that goes to the grant administrator, but then we also are allowing a significant amount of this millage to go to the same organization. And this is the same organization that's supposed to provide oversight to all the vendors within senior millage group. But how can you provide oversight to yourself?
I wholeheartedly agree with that, Commissioner Nash. I think we need to seriously look at that.
All right, I'd
Well,
like to,
I-
Mr. Chair,
I-
I'm on the Senior Activities Committee, says Marcia, and have seen, well, first I'll speak to this particular item before us to extend the grant to December 31st. And I think we have to do that given the fact that all the grants, I believe, starts in September or October, and they were involved in the process all along and know what is intended and can more effectively administer that for the beginning of that grant year. But the other thing is, having worked closely with senior resources, they've done a fantastic job. And maybe we need to separate these functions and they have to decide which to do, but I cannot fault the job they've done, because it was it was not an easy job. This year, for the first time, we had to cut out, I think it was $1 million from the request. There was $3 million of requests, and we had to cut it down to $2 million. So yeah, we had to make some cuts, and it wasn't easy and it wasn't fun, but the process was, I thought, very, very clear. And if I can just take a minute so that people understand what that process was. And also, Mark asked me to do this. We set a timeline initially. We sent out letters of intent to all the organizations, and then evaluated those. Letters of intent were received, and of the ones we received, we approved 29 to submit for a request for a proposal, and we denied 27. Then we divided our group into teams, and each team covered 2 categories. I happened to be on nutritional and social recreation and emotional team. There were 4 of us, I believe, and we had to cut like $100,000 out of one of the categories, because we had decided as a group what percent would go to each category: educational, health, housing, legal, mobility, nutrition, and social recreation and emotional. And so we had to pare down what we approved to the figure that represented. Then we got a packet, and if the camera can be on me, you can see I have, 20 folders here. It took me most of a day to read through all the proposals just for my subcommittee.
Marcia, I think you're talking about the Senior Services Activity Committee, but no one's disputing that committee.
Well, there was somebody that asked if somebody was even sent a proposal. I mean, it was a very thorough process. That's what I'm trying to say. It was very thorough. There were many levels, and it took a good month to evaluate all this. And anyway, so I just wanted to say that.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
may I ask Kathy a question?
Foster,
Thank
go
you.
right ahead.
Ms. Moore, am I correct in understanding you're good with this proposal of extending this out to December? Can I get your input on the finances, what we did for the last meeting?
I'm sorry.
Okay, I was asking, you're good with the proposal on extending the senior committee resources out to December. What would be your input on the changes? Should we ask to revert back to where we were until we can go off to this work session and get a better handle on this? Or can we get input on you for all these changes in finances?
Yes, so the financial impact of extending the grants administrator contract to December is paying the current contract amount, divided monthly. So just paying that same monthly amount until a new contract is in place.
Okay, and what would be your input on the changes we're about to vote on for the financial for the community and the county? Should those be? Go ahead. I'm sorry, ma'am.
So
why don't we do this? Let's not mix.
Okay, we'll go
our
section by
together.
we'll go section by section.
Yeah, let's do items by items.
Okay.
So right now, this proposal is just to extend the contract currently until we can get the RFP out and establish a possible new vendor. I mean, grants coordinator. Everyone understands that?
Yes.
Any other discussion on this?
Yeah, Charles, can I?
Go right ahead, Commissioner Skolnick.
You know, the more I look at this isn't going the way I had thought this thing was going to go, and I don't even know if I can vote to extend it. And the problem is, this whole process is flawed because everybody's got a dog in the fight. Everybody that's on this committee has got something that they're interested in and they want. It's almost like I'm thinking this process maybe needs to be done by an independent group that isn't even in this county. Somebody that doesn't have a relationship with one of the organizations. And also, as I look at, I mean, I don't know, I think everybody's got where all the money is going. You know, there's a few organizations that are getting like a huge amount of the money, and it's not like new programs. It's just, this money wasn't intended to fund things that were already in existence, like to take over funding from another organization. I'm not saying they've all done that. I mean, but some of them clearly are getting a huge amount of this money. There should have, it seems like it should be spread around more and some new innovative things to help people. I mean, you could use the whole $2 million to feed people. You know, and then another thing, and I'll stop with this, but I mean, I've seen on my Facebook feed, you know, come and get the food. We don't know what to do with it. Free meat, free vegetables. And I see, hundreds of boxes of food. Anybody can come and get it. What good is that? I can go out there and get it, and I don't even need it. It seems like we need to do a better job of making sure who gets this money actually needs it. God, I hate wasting money like that. That's it. That's all I got.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Mr.
Snyder.
I happen to agree with Mr. Skolnick. I think we need to have a work session on this. I think that some of the details that show up show an extravagance that I think is unnecessary. And I think we need to make sure that the money that's going into this program is getting to the people who are actually in need. And somehow or other, I get the impression that in some instances that's being overlooked.
Commissioner,
yes, sir.
On this? A lot of thoughts going through my mind. The last thing that was brought up was a work session. I do have on our calendar for a work session next Tuesday, so we can move relatively quick on this and have a full discussion, but it really depends on what the board decides to do and what the direction is on these motions today.
Well, I would chime in and say that I think that we do not need to slow down the process for the RFP. And I think even though we're not all comfortable with this, this extension is probably going to be the best thing we can do for now until we can get a new grants administrator in place. And then I think at that time, because the next motion has to deal with the funding. And if you want to hold that or cancel it, that's fine. But I think that this motion here is one that we need to move forward with so that we can keep this process going, because from what I heard from Ms. Moore, the timeline to be able to get this done would probably need this type of extension so that we can have time to do it properly and get it in place. Am I correct in that, Ms. Moore?
Yes, yes, you are. We need time to advertise, to review the responses, and then to bring it back to the board and to work with corporate counsel on the contract.
And I wanted to say, I think we do have some interested entities that would be willing to administer this. And I think that we would be more satisfied in finding another provider, or either the current provider would just have to be removed from being a vendor, period.
This is John Snyder. I think that I would like to go along with that proposal, but understanding that we do have a work session, and but if Kathy thinks that, if Ms. Moore thinks that we should extend it, I have enough confidence in her that I'd be willing to extend the contract and pass this motion. But I think we need to examine this in great detail.
All right, any other discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to respond to the comment about disproportionate, you know, that some agencies are receiving a large amount of money. It's because they provide huge services like, you know, Meals on Wheels and whatnot. It's the smaller amounts are coming from townships and you know, small groups that provide congregate meals or whatever. It's totally based on what they do and the extent of the service. I mean, Medicaid is huge. The Meals on Wheels is huge, and that's why that's reflected. I do happen to agree with some of the discussion about having it be needs-based, and I've raised that issue a number of times, and I think we need some clarification on that, because some programs are needs-based and some aren't, and I'm not sure who determines that or how that's determined.
Well, if just to add to that, if you look at the policies, and I read through those again today, there's a strong emphasis on need-based that are in the contract and within the policies. So this should be a high priority for any decision making made.
Yeah, that needs to be reflected, because that's not been discussed at length.
Right. But that is why also we have to be careful, because that information is provided to the vendors, but also it is to the contracted administration. And that's where I think we have to be careful too, because that begins to build a conflict where anyway. Let's stick with this. We're going to move forward with the vote on this agreement only, which is to extend this contract until December 31st to give us enough time to administer RFP. Let's have a roll call there, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Hovey Wright.
Yes.
Chairman Hughes.
Yes.
Commissioner Laring.
Yes.
Commissioner Mahoney. You're muted, Commissioner Mahoney.
Yes.
Commissioner Skolnick.
Yes.
Commissioner Snyder.
No.
Commissioner Wilkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Foster.
Yes.
Commissioner Nash.
Yes.
8 yes, 1 no.
All right, that motion passes. Now let's move to the next item, which is to approve the 3-year senior millage funding awards. totaling $337,400 for fiscal year 21, effective October 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2021, as recommended by the Senior Advantage Activities Committee to Senior Resources of West Michigan for the cost of Medicaid, Medicare Assisted Program, and Home Care Supports Coordination, and authorized designated Senior Millage Grants Administrator, Senior Resources to proceed with the administration of the programs.
I make a
So
motion
moved.
not to approve this.
Mr. Chairman,
I move to approve this.
I support Commissioner
Support.
Hughes.
All right, we have a motion going both ways. I'm going to go with the first one that was supported, which was Commissioner Hughes. You made a motion to not support, that was supported by Commissioner Foster.
Commissioner
At the
Nash,
I'm opening this up for,
could I explain that?
go right ahead.
My recommendation not to approve this is because the senior resources was not supposed to do this type of work. They were supposed to manage it, not do the programs themselves. And I'm very unhappy with this. I'm just uncomfortable with it. I want to take a step back and take a look at this before we move forward. 30 days is not going to matter all in this, but I think we need to reevaluate this whole situation. I don't think I have enough information to vote.
So would it be more appropriate to have a motion to table this?
Motion to table.
We have to, it has
There's
to
a
be made
motion
by
on the floor.
Motion on the floor.
Right.
I'd like to speak to this. I mean, we're talking about services that are essential to seniors. We're talking about Medicare assistance program, in-home care and support coordination, and there's a third one. These are essential services. We're talking about October 1st. So these are services that are currently provided by seniors resources. The thing that complicates this is the conflict of interest. And I guess at one point we need to hear from seniors services, if they had to choose, which would they rather do, the administration or the services? And we'd have to be sure that there's somebody else that could do the administration if they select services. So this is a really kind of, I don't think we're ready to vote on this yet. I don't want to turn it down. So I think tabling makes sense, and it'll be after we have our work session.
Commissioner Nash, I just like to say that, you know, the agencies that are getting, you know, for example, that are the agency that's administering this and getting some money from it. These are not small agencies. That's a $20 million organization. They were doing it long before the senior millage came up. So I don't know what extra work they're doing with that money, but it's not like the work isn't going to go on. They're going to continue to do work.
It means they can serve more people.
Well, they could serve $2 million worth of more people. You can't just say that. We need to get extra work at it and new services.
Commissioner Nash.
Commissioner Hughes.
I would be willing to change my motion to table this for 30 days for more information.
Yes.
And
if Commissioner Foster would support that.
May I ask Mr. Hughes a question?
I supported that.
And we're gonna, I want, before we go ahead with that, Mr. Administrator.
Yes.
How soon could we put together a work session?
I have one scheduled for Tuesday, planning that this would come up already.
Great. And Commissioner Foster, you're willing to support that amendment?
I will support the tabled motion by Commissioner Hughes.
Okay. So we have a motion to table this until we can schedule another meeting after the work session.
Right.
Am I correct?
Yes, or come
Yes,
back in 30 days, either
Or
way.
come back
To
within
the
30 days.
with the next Human Services Committee meeting.
Sounds great. Does everyone understand the motion? Anyone want to discuss the motion? If not, roll call. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Laring,
Yes.
Commissioner Mahoney,
Yes.
Commissioner Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Snyder,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Foster,
yes.
Commissioner Hovey Wright,
Yes.
Chairman Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
9 yes.
All right, that motion passes. Next item. Move to approve the 38 senior millage funding awards, $1.6.1, $357 for fiscal year 21, effective the 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2020, as recommended by the Senior Activities Committee, and to authorize the designated senior millage grants administrator, senior resource of West Michigan, to proceed with the administration of the programs.
Mr.
So
Chairman,
moved.
a motion to
Support.
table this.
All right, it's been moved and supported. So now I'm going to move forward with discussion.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a motion to table this until we have the other meeting?
Second.
I'll support it.
Well, we have a motion on the floor currently. And
Right.
the motion is to move
Yes.
forward.
We
And
have
it's
a
been seconded.
I'd like to speak to that, Mr. Chair.
Now it's under discussion. Commissioner Hovey Wright.
Yes, as a member of the committee, and I think people need to listen to the members of the committee that have been through all these meetings and the process and know the thoroughness that we went through and evaluated these programs. And that's Mr. Mahoney and Realstein Wilkins and myself. And the process I thought was very thorough. Yeah, there are changes, there are things that I'd like to do differently next time, but there are a lot of very valuable programs in here, and a lot of time and effort has gone into this. There are other members of the committee, people in the community, and I really challenge the accusation that we had vested interest in some of the programs. I really don't know what you're talking about, because I didn't see that. So I think that we need to consider this and move forward.
Mr. Chairman, may I?
This is John.
Yes.
And as a practical,
Go ahead, Mr. Snyder.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
Commissioner Snyder, Commissioner Foster was.
I don't think that that's a valid criticism. All we're asking is to get more detail, at least from my perspective. That's all that this request is for. And I don't think we ought to proceed with the contract, because I think all we're doing is leading people down the road. I think we need to sit down and get the information that we need from all of us. No one is questioning the integrity of any of the members, at least at this point.
Commissioner Foster.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My concern is if we approve this, we're going to lock out and get rid of some very good programs out there. Snow plowing, congregate meals. If we go ahead with this motion, we will lose that money. Just my input. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Commissioner
Commissioner Mahoney.
Having been through the process, and it was a torturous process for all of us because we didn't have the money to fund everything that we wanted to. But keep in mind, when the millage was passed, it wasn't just needs-based. It had a
Right.
lot of other things that were involved that we sold to the citizens. This committee spent tons of time going through all the details. To turn it down now and suspect that the commission is going to go through every detail, I suspect is completely false. You guys, the commission is not going to spend a month and a half going through every one of these proposals as this committee did and made recommendations to you. If you change the amounts, then some folks are going to lose more because you don't have the additional cash. So if you give someone else money, someone else loses. And we had to do that in several programs. So I would recommend we move forward. I know folks are disappointed. In my own area, I'm disappointed. But given the reality of the financial program, if the commission wishes to spend another month and a half going through all the details that we did, more power to them. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Foster.
I'd like to make the comment that that's our job. We are responsible for this money, and we're responsible for taking care of our seniors with this money.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Laird.
we have a motion to table this on the floor right now. I think we need to take a vote on that motion to table.
We already have a motion on the
Yeah,
floor.
we have a motion to approve the recommendations.
Yes, but I believe the motion to table that takes precedence.
Do we have our corporate counsel online?
No, we do not. I don't think Mike is on, but I agree with Zach that if you don't vote on tabling it, then you're coming to voting on this. And if you vote this down, then it has to look different as it comes back. In other words, the dollar amount has to be different as you come back. So if we go ahead and discuss this at the work session as well, we can bring all these back. Plenty of time to notify the vendors on this list.
Well, I'm wondering if Commissioner Hovey-Wright and Commissioner Mahoney would be willing to relinquish that motion for a table similar to what we had in the last motion for the next 30 days. So
Commissioner Nash,
Yes, sir.
the motion to table is not under discussion. It's either yay or nay. And I think we need to move forward on that.
Was there?
You want to move forward with the table motion?
Commissioner Nash,
A motion.
was there a second for the table?
Yes, Commissioner Foster had made the motion and Commissioner Laring had seconded it.
That's
All right.
the priority motion.
We will move forward with the motion to table.
How long
All
is this
right.
motion for?
Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman, may I? Mr. Chairman, may I?
Commissioner Foster?
We would table it according with the other one when it comes back at the same time.
Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion? All right, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Snyder,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Foster,
Yes.
Commissioner Hovey-Wright. You're muted, Commissioner Hovey-Wright.
Yes.
Chairman Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Laring,
Yes.
Commissioner Mahoney,
Very reluctantly, yes.
9 yes.
All right. So both of those motions have been tabled and will be set up in a work session that will come back before 30 days so that we can get it back on Human Services before October 1st.
Commissioner, may I start that work session at 2 o'clock versus 2:30 on Tuesday?
Do we need a motion?
The Human Services? Or the work session?
Well, the work session is next Tuesday scheduled. Currently, I have them at 2:30, but I think this one needs a little bit more time to discuss. I would recommend 2 o'clock.
I believe, everyone okay with that?
I'm
Sir,
good.
That works
Yeah,
good
I
for
would
me.
like to ask the question, what does the commission need to make this decision? I mean, we have piles and piles of applications and
I think
criteria,
that's what the work session
forms
is for.
and everything else.
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman.
I
That's
don't know how
exactly
we're gonna
what
do that
the
in an
work
hour,
session
but
is
it
for.
took us a whole month and a half.
Okay, we're gonna move forward now.
okay, next.
Waiting on my agenda.
Number 19, please, Kristen.
Number 19, authorize public health the contract with Mercy Health for expanded COVID-19 testing in Muskegon County for the 14-month period, August 2020 through September 2020, and further authorize the county administrator to serve as a liaison to finalize the details of the agreement.
So moved.
Been moved and
I'll
supported.
support.
I have a question.
And any discussion?
Yes, I have a question. It's $800,000 to do that?
This is Kathy Moore, Public Health Director. So the State of Michigan Department of Health and Human Services has allocated up to 364 or 52 for fiscal year 20 and 800 plus for fiscal year 2021. So we were asking to contract with the hospital up to the 800,000, but we were anticipating that we, public health, would keep some of those dollars within for our administration.
Okay, because there is no amounts or anything at all in the motion itself. It kind of leaves us to wonder what kind of money we're spending, where we're getting it from, and where it's going.
Yep. So we are asking to spend up to 1.1 million total, 300,000 this fiscal year, 800,000 next fiscal year. The money is coming from the State of Michigan Department of Health and Human Service, which is a pass-through from the federal government. It is intended for testing and/or contact tracing. We are actually asking to work with the hospital. They would get the biggest portion of that, but we would still maintain a few dollars at public health because we'll still be doing some work.
Would that make the testing free for people?
Yes. Well, yep. It would make it no charge for the individual. So if they have insurance, the hospital will bill and accept that insurance amount, but no copay, no for the individual.
But do we have any idea that we will still need to be testing 14 months from now?
We do not. That just covers the total grant period from the state.
I see. Okay.
And yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Kathy, I have a question, Mr. Chair, if I may.
Go ahead, Commissioner Larry.
So, are you still going to be doing this COVID testing and contract tracing yourselves, or are we going to be subcontracting it all out to Mercy Health?
So the actual testing would be Mercy Health, and then public health. The contact tracing is a public health responsibility. So we would maintain the contact tracing role, but they would of course share the test results, which they have to anyway.
So it seems like a lot of money. Do we know how many tests we anticipate them providing? Because we already have some of this being provided by some local businesses. I believe that at one point Walmart was doing it. I think Rite Aid was doing it for free.
Yes.
I'm not sure. I mean, I don't see this $800,000 for additional testing. It seems, I mean, obviously the everybody wants to say, oh, it's free money from the federal government or free money from the state. But I don't really see, I mean, it's still our tax dollars, and I don't see why we would need to promote an additional $800,000 in testing. We've already had the National Guard out here twice doing it for free. I don't know why we need all these more tests to be done.
So, and we're working, trying to identify what we're calling an epidemiological link. And so when the stay-home order was lifted and, you know, people started going back to work, there were cases identified or potential cases identified where asymptomatic individuals felt like, you know, they were a close contact and they wanted to get tested. Right now, they need a doctor's order, or they need to go on the Rite Aid website. I can tell you the case I just got today. This individual was tested at Rite Aid on 7/23. We got the notification from them that this individual was positive on August 5th. The isolation period had expired. And so it's almost like calling them and saying, you know, your test was positive. You need to stay in isolation until 2 days ago. The one of the advantages with working with the hospital is first, we do get to identify some of those epi-linked and prioritize some of that testing. So we have a little more control over that. Right now, when Walmart on Henry was doing it, we had no input or control. When Rite Aid, it's their process. And so we don't get to say, you know, please prioritize this individual because there's an epi-link instead of somebody else. And then also, when the National Guard were here, at one of the sites, they were able to test minors. And then the last site, they said they weren't comfortable. And so it's just trying to assure that our residents have options, and then also assure that we in public health, as we identify cases, that anybody that's linked to that case that want to get tested would be able to get tested.
Yeah, and I think this is good to help streamline the process a little bit more so that we do have more control with our county health department, which is our essential COVID, administrative advisors. And then I did hear that some of the testing had slowed and dried up also because of the curve going down and people moving to next stages of opening. But again, I think like Ms. Moore said, once these openings started back, the testing, the COVID cases seem to rise a little bit, and now testing has dried up some. So this is another way of making sure we can try to keep a handle on this as far as, being able to detect and isolate those individuals as much as possible.
One of the biggest examples, and I have a little anxiety over, is the start of school. So if there's a positive case in the school, we don't necessarily want to shut the whole classroom down. Or there's going to be parents that may say, my child rode the bus, but you're only testing these people, or you're only, investigating this group. We just want to have a little more expanded capacity to say, if everybody on the bus can get tested if they like, or everybody within that classroom can be tested, but we're only quarantining those individuals that was within that 6 feet distancing range.
Any other discussion on? Go ahead.
Can I ask Kathy just a quick question? Kathy, my wife, she had a procedure at Mercy on Monday. She had to get tested, and I took her Saturday to the tent out in back of Mercy. there was a big long line. Can anybody go there and get tested?
Nope, those tests are specifically for scheduled procedures
Oh,
at Mercy or a doctor's order by a Mercy related physician.
okay. Thank you.
Mr. Administrator.
Thank you. Yes, I met with Kathy and Dr. Grill, who's online here with us today, and is willing to answer any questions as well. I just want to bring that to everybody's attention. They have a very well plan laid out, and we would like to obviously work for, as Kathy mentioned, to work on a contract. But the need is there. We also visited with the chamber and working with them because there are linked to businesses. As schools get started and businesses ramp up, they have the same concerns as well. So it's just one of the major things that we're seeing across the county is a need for additional testing and ways for us to do this. And these dollars obviously will help that process.
Yes. Any other discussion? And Mark, the only thing that I would suggest is that when you go into these negotiations, I would highly recommend that we stress the timing issue of these testing, because we had an experience also, and it was almost 2 weeks before we got any information back, and I just, it really doesn't help after that long, especially if the person is already positive. So whatever we can do to streamline and speed this up so that we can get that information back to schools and businesses and entities, I think is going to help tremendously.
Yep, I hear that loud and clear, and I've been hearing that through the community as well. And Dr. Grill had a good answer for us on that as well.
Okay. Thank you. And I don't know where these tests are coming from, but there was a test that they talked about that you could take and get the answer instantly. I don't know if we've even embarked on that, but I know they're probably quite expensive. They're out there. Anyway, moving forward, we're going to have a roll call on this.
Charles, what are we voting on? Please restate that.
Let me restate the motion. Move to authorize public health to contract with Mercy Health for expanded COVID-19 testing.
19. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Commissioner Mahoney,
Yes.
Commissioner Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Snyder,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Foster,
Yes.
Commissioner Harvey Wright,
Yes.
Chairman Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Laring,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
9 yes.
Thank you. And that motion passes. Next up is item 20. Move to authorize public health to reconfigure the workspace for public health nursing, WIC, and customer service, and add workspace at the building front entrance with an estimated cost not to exceed $15,604.36 with no charge on the general fund appropriation.
So moved.
And supported.
Support.
All right, any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Snyder,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Foster,
Yes.
Commissioner Harvey Wright,
Yes.
Chairman Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Laring,
Yes.
Commissioner Mahoney,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes,
9 yes.
and that motion passes. Next up is old business. Any old business come before this committee? Seeing none, new business. Any new business to come before this committee? At this time, we'll ask for public comment. Is there anyone in the public that would like to have a comment? I see Miss Flora has her hand up. Go right ahead.
Thank you. Amy Florea, I work for Senior Resources of West Michigan. We're the current grants administrator. And I look forward to and urge the commissioners to become informed about resources and our role as an area agency on aging for Muskegon and Ottawa counties. We're doing that work designated as the area agency on aging by our state office of aging. As well.
Hold on, Miss Flora. Can we have everyone mute their microphone that's not on, because I'm getting a lot of feedback and I can't hear what she's saying.
Oh, sorry.
You're fine. Go right ahead.
And by the Administration for Community Living at the federal level. And we've administered grants in this same manner for 45 years, which is why we felt like it was a good fit when the Muskegon County millage came along. For us to be able to kind of roll it into our current processes, of course, making changes to be specific to the dollars that are for Muskegon County only, as well as administering that purchase of service program, which is a pool of providers that were able to get home care services to eligible seniors in Muskegon County. So we look forward to any opportunity that you might give us to be able to share a little bit more about what we do, about our administrative costs, and any other things that might help the commissioners be informed about us and what we do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else that would like to have public comment?
Mr. Chair, I think that we should invite.
This is just for public comment.
Oh,
Commissioners will be later.
Right.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Lisa Tyler, I'm also with Senior Resources. I'm the Communications Director.
Go
Do
right
I have
ahead.
your
Lisa.
permission to speak?
Yes,
Thank you.
ma'am.
As my colleague Amy said, we've been doing this work for a long time. We recognize also there have been some challenges in this process. On that, I think we can agree with you. And we hope to work together to address those with you. As you can imagine, I'm the Communications Director. It's a little challenging, a little difficult to hear your agency criticized, as we heard today. We do appreciate hearing everyone's feedback, including from those who spoke in public comment earlier, as well as all the commissioners, and we have heard what you said. This is more than a job for us, and it has been much more than a job for us for over 45 years. It is our goal to keep the most vulnerable among us, the frail, the seniors, in their homes for as long as possible, and that's what we've been doing. I know that we've heard from people who think this is just a job and it's just about getting the money. I can assure you it is not. Absolutely not. So we look forward to a robust conversation on Tuesday. I'm actually happy to hear Mr. Eisenberg suggest that we meet at 2 to give us a little bit more time, because I didn't think an hour was enough even before today. So we look forward to that. We will also look forward to sharing some data with you that shows that, just to quickly comment, that somebody in earlier public comment made a suggestion that money might be going outside of the county. It does not. We have ways that we track to make sure all millage funds only go to county residents. We also have other data that will show about the programs and people served. It's some data that is similar to the annual report that we give you every year that hopefully every one of you has received, as I've sent it to the county administration office every year. So we thank you for your comments. We look forward to seeing all of you on Tuesday.
Anyone else in the public that would like to have a comment? This is your time.
Kristen has her hand up.
Kristen Coley, go right ahead.
Hi there, Commissioner. This is Chris Colley with Age Wealth Services, the Executive Director. I understand that there is definitely a lot of questions, and I do feel a little bit like the elephant in the room that's being discussed with our agency receiving a large share of the funds from the senior millage. What I assure you is it doesn't go towards administration. We have a 6% administration rate in all that we do within Age Wealth Services, which means that 94% of the contributions and the grants that we receive go straight towards services. the majority of the grant funds that we receive actually go towards individuals with a high need and a low income. So we are ensuring that that's an important aspect. There is not enough money in the world to feed all of those homebound seniors. And we understand that the funding that we receive is funding of last resort, and that is the true intent. So while you look at the size and the scope of the amount of money that Age Well Services has been awarded in the past and is on for your consideration, please understand that this is awarded to 6 different programs. Just like United Way, who also funds programs, many times agencies receive funding for multiple programs. And I am happy to help anyone understand or to provide the grants that we have submitted for your review so that you can see some of your questions addressed. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to have public comment?
Yeah.
Who is this?
Well, no, that's when it's time for board.
Oh, I thought that was someone from the public.
Sorry.
Anyone else in the public would like to have a comment? Mark, you don't see anyone? Kathy?
I don't see anybody either, Charles.
All right. So now we'll move on to final board comments. Anyone have any final board comments?
I'd just like to say, Charles, this was a complicated meeting. You handled it very well. Thank you very much.
Oh, well, thank you for your help and support. We just want to make sure these meetings run efficiently for everyone and, you know, everyone get their voice out there.
You did a
But
great
anyway,
job.
I'll accept an motion for an adjournment.
So moved.
Well, I would just like to add something.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah,
Commissioner
I mean, I look forward to hearing from Senior Resources and Age Well and about the process that we went through. I think the rest of you who are not on the committee will see that the process was a good one. I mean, we can always improve, but and we can make changes to how we allocate our resources. But they've done I think, a very good job, and the services that are provided are top notch. Anyway, I'm glad they'll be presenting and give a chance for them to directly speak to the whole board.
Charles,
Yes.
I do have one other thing, if that's okay.
Go right ahead.
I think Mark will be setting up the work session and giving us a presentation, not each individual person. I just like an overview from Senior Resources and what's going on. I don't need to hear from everybody on every department. I just want to know what's going on there and how now all of a sudden they're able to accept funds when they weren't supposed to.
And I'll just add to that. I don't think we're trying to discuss what agencies are worthy. I think that we went through that process already. I think that what Commissioner Hughes is speaking on is that, you know, there is some conflict of interest that we've been discussing since before this grant was even finalized through the community. And we had that discussion prior to, we had that discussion afterwards. But it seems as though we let that die somewhere and we did not continue that discussion or enforce it whatsoever. And I think that has caused some uneasiness amongst different commissioners. And then, you know, we do have a few people that are concerned about not receiving services. But I think the biggest issue is discussing these conflicts of interest and how we want to handle those moving forward.
Well said, Charles.
Thank you for your diplomacy on that.
I do want to say that at one point we made a decision to allow this to happen. It's not like it just happened. We made a conscious decision to allow that them to do both things. So, you know, and maybe we want to revisit that, but it's not like we just slid into it.
And that's what we'll be discussing on Tuesday.
Right. Because I don't ever remember making that decision. So.
Yeah.
I don't either.
No, maybe it was at the committee level. I don't know, but I remember a decision being made.
Okay. Any other final board comments? Commissioner Mahoney.
Just trying to keep it positive. After Labor Day, we will be beginning the cross-channel process for the water. It's after Labor Day because of the Pierre Marquette didn't want it all tore up during their summer vacation, so to speak. But that's going to be a tremendous improvement in the water system in the county. And I look forward to that moving forward. That's a positive note that we've been working on. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Mahoney.
Someone else.
Yes.
Didn't you promise us that we could drive cars through that tunnel?
Yeah, close. Instead of
Someone
the
else had
water
a
part,
comment.
Bob, instead of the water part, Bob, you can just do an inner tube.
And you can use a Tonka, but that's about it.
Yeah, the answer is yes, but you have to go first, Bob.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Commissioner Nash. Commissioner Nash.
Mr. Barnes.
Yeah, I apologize. I got kicked out before I was allowed to speak under public comment. May I?
You may go ahead, sir.
So I just wanted to say that, you know, I don't know where all this stemmed from, but, you know, I believe it was October, November last year where we were, you know, pretty much groveling with the county commissioners to table this because you hadn't talked to any of the townships with respect to this 25% of the money that was in the fund balance for senior millage money. It got shoved down our throat, didn't even get an opportunity to table it. Then we found out 2 months later, why are we rushing to spend this money when clearly we were just asking to table? Look, here's the thing is you guys went out with Senior Resources, who has been doing this for decades, over 40 years. They've got 89 pages of guidelines that all these agencies have to go by in order to be approved for a loan. Or for a grant, I apologize. So I'm not understanding why we task them to do something and now we're going to pull the reins back and say, let us just fly spec everything you've been doing lately, even though you've been doing it for 40 years. I don't know if that's the most efficient way to operate with this particular senior millage money, but you know, one other thing I wanted to at least clarify is I've heard some discussion that, you know, they've seen it on their Facebook that anybody can come get this food. I want everyone to understand that farm to family produce is available to anybody. It wasn't paid for by senior millage money, so anyone. They didn't give us any restrictions when it came to that produce, so we're not going to put any restrictions on it once it gets to our municipality. So I look forward to your guys' work session because I want to attend, but I do want to say that when Senior Resources is going through this entire process, anybody in the community can go to that meeting also. So it seems like we have them do all the work, pull the reins back in, and let's let the county commissioner back. That's just my 2 cents. Thanks.
And Tony, I just would like for you to send me that information next time you guys have that giveaway, because I didn't see it until days after. Any other comments?
I would move we adjourn.
And I will accept that motion, and we are adjourned.
Thank you, Commissioner.